Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the podcast about reauthoring stories. And this is actually kind of fun because my son Ryan is doing this episode with me. Say hi to everybody, Ryan.
Hi, everybody.
Why don't you start by telling them just a little bit about yourself and what you're doing with life right now?
Okay. Well, hello. My name is Ryan. And right now I am currently a freshman at Northern Michigan University. I am studying to become a math teacher, a high school math teacher. And then my minor is in theater, so I'm hoping to incorporate that somehow into my future life.
And you just finished your freshman semester with COVID happening.
Oh, yeah, that was rough.
Talk a little bit about what that looked like.
It was just really weird because a big part of what everybody was telling me was so exciting about college was meeting all these new people and like having these great experiences. And it was so crazy because everything was online, and obviously I went to classes and stuff, but it just wasn't the same as going to study groups and going and hanging out with people and going to clubs and stuff.
And you didn't even, they were like no school sanctioned activities, right?
Well, at the beginning of the semester, there were a few things that they were trying to do COVID safe, but towards the end, they just canceled everything that was school sanctioned.
Yeah, that would be, I remember my freshman year of college in the dark ages, and like that would have been really weird because everything I did focused around school sanctioned activities, so that would be weird. And you just got a job.
Yes, I did. I'm working at Five Below. It's super exciting.
And you go in for the first time tomorrow.
Yes.
So that's cool. But it's not your first job. You worked at a food.
Yes, I worked at Mod Pizza.
Yeah.
Pizza, so it was fun.
So we haven't really talked a ton about what we're about to do on this podcast, so this could be really interesting. But we're going to talk a little bit about what it just looks like to have to grow up, like to become an adult. I remember being like scared shitless. You can swear on this, so it's fine. I remember being scared shitless when that was happening, but it was like quite a long time ago. So I think it'll be good for like, so the main listeners of this are going to be like seminary students who some will be working with people your age.
Okay.
So it's really actually awesome that you're going to talk about it because most of us have forgotten what it was like. So tell me a little bit about high school, Ryan.
High school Ryan. Oh man, did high school Ryan procrastinate? And that's pretty much, I can sum up my entire high school experience into one word, is procrastination. I really I did not want to get things done, and I had no motivation.
Okay. And how did that play into, like, let's talk about a couple of things. How did that play into schoolwork?
With schoolwork, I really there were a lot of things that I didn't get done and I didn't get turned in, and my grades suffered because of it. I graduated with a 3.0, which was really phenomenal considering how much didn't get turned in, but
well, it's a testament to how smart you are, even if you tested well, even if you didn't do the work.
It's true, I did test well on everything. That's why I didn't feel like I had to do the work.
Talk to me about how that affected, like, let's do family. So not just us, like even with your grandma, and like how did any of the procrastination affect family?
Well, I don't know.
That's okay. Like, do you feel like, because that's something I've noticed that's changed in you since you've come home, is you're not like so much last minute. So, like, do you think it had a negative or positive effect on family?
The procrastination definitely had a negative effect on family. There were things that I would say I'd get done, and then I didn't get them done.
Okay. And what about, I think the other thing would be like, so school, family. What about like social or extracurriculars?
So I didn't do much in the way of social and extracurriculars, but I think procrastination is a big reason for that.
Well, you did theater.
Well, yeah.
That was big.
Yeah, absolutely. The theater was probably the one thing that I didn't really procrastinate with.
Okay.
And that was just something that I loved doing, so I never put it off.
Got it.
But procrastination, I think, really did affect my social life a lot. I just, like, I'd always rather be sitting down watching TV rather than going out and hanging out with friends.
I noticed that, yeah. Which is fair. So that was high school, Ryan.
Yes.
And you're just starting to become college, Ryan. And like we said, you're doing that in the age of COVID. So your experience is not like a typical college freshman.
Not at all.
But tell me about college, Ryan, especially like in relation to procrastination. What's different?
Honestly, I don't know what was different, but when I was at college, I just had this feeling of like, wow, everything's in my hands now. I've got to take control and get shit done.
Okay. So that was like an adult kind of eye-opening?
It was a come to Jesus moment.
Come to Jesus moment. Were there any specific things that happened that you were like, oh, like it's all on me? Like any, I don't even know what about, like money, grades, papers?
It came down to schoolwork. And,
okay.
It was, I think, my first 2 weeks in my English class. Like, we had an essay assigned every day, and I was like, holy crap, I don't want to get this done.
Okay.
But I did, I knocked it out every night. I would go and I would type out my essay.
Okay. So let's talk about the 4 things we just talked about. So schoolwork, family, theater, and social stuff. Tell me how schoolwork's different because you're starting to be more on top of stuff. I mean, you kind of just did, but tell me a little bit more.
Yeah, it's just, it's been great. Honestly, I don't know how to explain it. I just think something clicked. And
okay.
I really don't know how to explain what it is.
Okay. Do you feel like, I remember we had a conversation last year, your senior year of high school, and we were sitting with your mom, and we were just saying, like, we want you to be proud of, like, do you feel like you've started to get
yes,
there? Okay.
Absolutely. In high school, I didn't feel proud of most of the work that I turned in. What little work I turned in,
sure.
I wasn't proud of. And then I guess when college hit, yeah, like those essays I was talking about, I would spend maybe an hour, 2 hours longer on them than I would have in high school, trying to get them to be at a point that I'm proud of.
I remember there was one point early in the semester you sent us 2 essays you wrote, the falling
yes.
one, and it was really, I can't remember.
Maybe something about an anxiety attack.
Yeah, it was it. Yep.
Okay.
And we were both just like, he's proud of that. Like, even if he's not telling us, like, that clicked. We were very excited. Talk to me about family. So how does it, and again, like, it could be your grandma too, aunts, uncles, but like, how does this affect family?
I feel like I've just, and correct me if I'm wrong here.
You suck!
No, I feel like I have been, more, and I can't think of the word I'm looking for right now, but I've just been doing things without having to be told to do things. Whether it's
like proactive.
Yeah, proactive. That was the word I was looking for.
That's why I get paid the big bucks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, whether it's just like getting dishes done, making sure my room is clean, doing laundry. God, I hate doing laundry.
Me too.
But I've been getting it done, and I think that shows.
And so the third one's social. Talk to me about how that's changed in college. And again, I know it's different because of COVID, but...
Yeah, and it really is so weird because of COVID. But especially at college, and it's been different since being home, because it's a lot stricter here than it was up at Northern. But at least at college, I could go down, I just knock on somebody's door every once in a while and go, hey, want to hang out? What's going on? And we'd go for a walk, hang out in their dorm, play games, whatever it was.
Yeah, I know. We had talked a little bit about like the college bubble, and I think even in time, like especially in times of pandemic, that's even more apparent because like in college, you're in your own community where if you get infected, you're only affecting you.
Right.
But when you live with adults, it's just like everything. Yeah, I feel horrible for you guys. That sucks. So the fourth thing was something that you said you didn't feel like was affected by the procrastination, which was theater.
Right.
And I think that's probably accurate. Like, in the shows I worked with you on, I think that's the one thing you were, like, super focused on.
On top of.
Do you feel like there's any change in that, or do you think... I mean, I guess you haven't done too much.
Well, it's been so weird. And I just think it actually has changed for the worse with theater, honestly.
Okay.
Because things have gone online, I can just read the script on my computer rather than memorizing my lines.
Got it.
And I think I've with cold reading, that's been a strong suit of mine.
Okay, so tell
now,
people, if they don't know theater, what's cold reading?
So basically just looking at a script for the first time and being able to read through it with emotion.
Okay.
And so I can do that just looking at it on my computer screen rather than memorizing it and knowing my lines word for word. I can just look at the computer screen because everything's on Zoom. So
that's weird. So the 3 things that you were struggling more with, you've gotten better. And the thing that you were awesome at, you're going to have to build back up once, hopefully life someday returns to.
Right, yeah.
Normal. Okay. So talk to me about, so you, like, that's been a big shift, it seems like, and I've noticed since you've been home. Talk to me about what parts of, like, becoming an adult, which is a terrifying thing, you're still struggling with. Like,
Terrifying.
Give me, like, 3 things that you're like, oh, I'm not a fan of these parts of becoming an adult.
Oh, okay. I know I'm gonna have to get a car at some point, and that is terrifying to me.
Talk to me about that. Why is that terrifying?
First of all, I don't like driving. It's probably my least favorite thing in the world. I hate it with everything in me.
Okay.
I don't know why. It just makes me nervous being behind the wheel. I never know, like, is this a good time to turn? Is it not? Ah!
Okay.
But then there's also the financial aspect, and that's something that I've struggled with. I think you know.
Yeah, the financial.
Just because it's not easy to get a job. And I think previously I had been wrapped up into this idea that I could make money with photography. Then it just wasn't panning out.
And I think you can make money with photography. I always tell, like, well, your mom's like a perfect example, and I think she'd be cool with us talking about this. But she's a super passionate business trainer. She's really good at what she does.
Oh, absolutely.
She's been doing it forever. But she supports her business while she's building it with a 40-hour-a-week income.
Right.
And I think that's, like, really common for people. So I wouldn't say, like, you can't do it. You have to support yourself.
Oh, yeah. And I was just wrapped up into this notion that I could just do photography without having to do anything else.
Got it. So I'm interested, and I think this will be interesting for the people listening who are working with youth turning adult. Do you feel like you were prepared with the financial info, or do you feel like nobody really talked or taught it to you?
I feel like I was prepared in some aspects.
Okay.
But that was all from home. I don't think, and this is me getting a little bit into the school systems of America.
Well, we could talk forever about that, but go ahead.
But I really don't think that anybody was really well prepared for the financial aspect of life in school.
I remember that being one of the most shocking things for me. Back when I was turning 18, you had to balance a checkbook still because there wasn't, like, phone apps, like, really long ago.
That might be the one thing I learned how to do in school, and I never used.
Okay. But, like, I remember coming out and, like, a check wouldn't clear, and because we wrote checks a lot more then, too, and, like, a check wouldn't clear, so my account would go in the red, and I would start bouncing everything because I thought I had more money than I had. And, like, but nobody taught me how to do that. Nobody was like, oh, you should balance your checkbook. And I was like, well, crap, now I owe the bank, like, hundreds of dollars.
Right.
So buying a car is stressful, finances stressful. Is there anything else that you feel like you're still struggling with a little bit and coming to terms with?
It's definitely weird knowing that you are an adult, and it's this feeling like you should know what to do and you don't, and sometimes you just need to understand that you can ask for help even though you're an adult, and even though you feel like you shouldn't need to, it's always okay to ask for help.
I feel like that's a super important observation.
That's something that I've definitely struggled with learning.
And I think, like, especially guys asking for help, I think is harder.
Well, now we're getting into the topic of toxic masculinity.
Well, that's true. But, like, I feel like for the guys that I know, and, like, the guys that I work with who do the transition from, like, teen to adult, I feel like they're much more reserved when it comes to asking questions than a girl would be.
Yeah.
Because it's just expected that you're supposed to know everything. Yeah. But you're not.
Absolutely.
That'd be weird if you knew everything. So what part of this story is... I'm going to give you an example after I ask this question because this is a really random question.
Okay.
So I want to know what part of the story that you're finding, like, is life-giving or redemptive. Or, like... So what I mean by that is... In this class that I'm doing this podcast for, we had been talking about, like, redemptive stories. And I realized that I had been telling LGBTQ people my whole life that they were beloved children of God. But I had never told myself that. So, like, and I never listened to anybody else say that. So once I was able to, like, claim the word, like, oh, I'm beloved. Like, I actually matter too. I was, like, it changed everything for me. Is there anything in your life that, like, you feel like, even though it's a little bit hard to become an adult, like, there's a purpose for it?
Oh, goodness, I don't even know.
I know that's a hard question. think, not that I know your answer for you, but I'd say think like DIPAC, summer camp, teaching.
Yeah, so I guess that does help me a lot, is getting to know and understand the things that you get to know and understand becoming an adult. That allows you to help other people get to know and understand those things.
And you're literally going to be working with teenagers because you're going into secondary
right
ed. So 9th through 12th graders. And then, especially in theater programs, you're going to be working with theater kids.
Oh, and theater kids are so dramatic.
Tell me. So, yeah, they are. So, theater kids, how would you describe theater kids? In a mass.
In a mass?
Yeah. A mass group of theater kids.
Energetic. Talented. I mean, really, if you go to any mass group of theater kids, there's going to be a lot of talent.
Yes, and confidence, I feel like.
Confidence,
at least fake confidence, but confidence.
There's a lot of fake confidence.
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it. That's like my motto in life.
I think that's a lot of theater kids' motto. I'm thinking like, so when I think of theater kids, I usually, out of a cast of 50, let's say, in their teens, I have like 5 or 6 that are totally lost in life. Would you like say that's accurate from the shows you've been in?
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm thinking like, especially in your theater, if you run a high school theater someday, like you're going to be coming in contact with 5 or 6 kids every show that are like, I don't know what I'm doing. What would you as Ryan, who's been through a semester of college, say to those kids who are like, I'm so afraid to go to college. I'm so afraid to leave high school. I'm so afraid to grow up. What would you say to them?
Oh, man. Well, I would start with growing up is hard. I'm not going to lie. But you've got to remember that you're not expected to know everything, and you've got to remember that you can always go and ask for help. I think that really is such an important message.
So you've mentioned asking for help a couple times. Where do you find, so like say a kid, or an adult who's in your same stage of life is struggling with asking for help right now and they're listening. You know, like say they're like, I don't know who the heck to go to. Tell me a couple people that help you when you're struggling.
I mean, really, there are so many resources, whether it's like a college counselor or your advisor at college is a phenomenal resource to ask about anything. I know I've gone to my advisor, not just about like my classes, but even about like my personal life and just things that are going on, and not necessarily anything bad, but just like this is happening, like
right.
And so that's always a great resource, and those are resources that are made readily available
at every college. I'm pretty sure
every college, yeah. Absolutely. Along with that, like your RA, your RD, all of those things, but family, I think, is really the number one thing that is super important to understand. That most of the time, and I'm not going to say in every scenario your family's always going to be there for you, but most of the time, you've got a loving family who's there for you to answer any questions that you need to have answered.
And I think for people who are like coming at it, who are like, I am not coming from a safe environment, I think sometimes we need to remember family's not always blood, and it can be chosen.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
So like if they're in that case, it doesn't mean they don't have family they can talk to. It just might not be their biological mother, father, sister. Yeah. Okay, so I'm curious to know, and I've been asking everybody this question, and it's the weirdest question.
Okay.
So we're going to look at Ryan. Let's look at senior year of high school Ryan and Ryan now, like a semester in of college. And I want you to give me 3 words or character descriptions that describe each Ryan.
Oh, okay. Senior year Ryan, I would say procrastinator, clueless.
Okay.
and lazy.
Okay. Tell me about now Ryan.
Proactive. Oh goodness, these are not.
I know it's easy. It's a very weird question. Some people look at me and they're like, "Yeah, that's like too spacey." But stick with me.
All right, I'm trying. Where was I? Proactive. Dramatic.
Well, I can back up that one.
Adultier?
That's the best word I've ever heard. Perfect. Those are good words. So, the last part of the podcast, I told you this wasn't that difficult, right?
No, it's super easy.
Okay. This part's where it gets a little difficult.
Oh, goody.
So, part of what this podcast is about is like, so you start telling me your story and like everybody kind of listens in like, oh, this is cool and how you're transforming already. But then I'm making you like a packet of like things that in this class we talk about what we notice, what we appreciate, and what we wonder about what people say. So like I'll send you like kind of, this is what I noticed when we were talking. This is what I really appreciated that you said. And this is what my mind's like, I'm wondering, right? So, but to get a little bit further, that's helpful for you. And I'm not just saying that about random stuff. Have you ever heard about like reauthoring a story?
I have not.
Okay. So what reauthoring a story means is like, you obviously can't change your story or what happened, but you can change how you view yourself in the story.
Okay.
So like say that I am talking about when I was 13 and I came out and I'm mad because I acted a certain way towards a certain person. I can reauthor that and say, but hey, I acted that way because I was hurting and like I'm not really to blame and it's okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any parts of your story from age 0 to almost 19 that you would reauthor?
Oh, goodness.
I know. That's a hard one.
It's really difficult for me to answer because I try to live my life so that I don't have to reauthor.
Okay.
That's a big part of like what it's been a big part of my thought process for years is just kind of live your life so that you understand.
Okay. So which I can appreciate because I try to live my life with, I think try to live with no regrets.
Yeah. And I don't want to say no regrets because obviously you're going to have regrets
Sure.
in anything you do.
But trying to, just be at peace with what you do.
Absolutely.
Is there any part that you feel like you're too hard on yourself?
I mean, yeah, a lot.
So talk about a couple of those.
Goodness.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
You're doing so good.
My brain's like being flooded right now. I'm trying to like
I know, there's
filter out
a lot of thoughts.
Hard on myself.
Yeah, like when you hear me talk about like grace and the Jesus world, like giving people grace.
Mm-hmm.
When do you not give yourself grace and you should?
I think a lot of the time I'm a major empath.
Okay.
Which we have discussed.
We have discussed, yeah.
And a lot of the time I kind of blame myself when other people are hurting.
Okay.
And so I think that's just the main example.
Okay. So if you looked at reauthoring that,
mm-hmm.
So how could you still sit with people when they're hurting, but not blame yourself? What do you think that would look like? I know that's really, now we're getting deep.
Yeah, that's so deep. That's
you
a
should have
question.
just seen his face, everybody. He was like, he looked at me and he was like, "No, don't ask me that question."
I mean, that's a question that I've been trying to answer myself for years, because I really don't know. That's something that I've been struggling with.
So I think part of what I'll give you is like, this is what I'll try and pose questions to you that would help you kind of come to some sort of. Not that I'm going to be able to do that because you've been asking yourself for that for years. But I feel like that would be useful to get to a point where you could kind of reauthor that sense of like, because empathetic doesn't have to be a bad thing.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like a beautiful trait, like when people can be with people and like get people. But
oh, I'm empathetic to a fault.
you are, yeah, to not take it on.
It's like my fatal flaw.
To not take it on yourself. That would be really good. Now I'm wanting to see that happen. Any other parts of your story you think that you're too hard on yourself, or is that the...
That's the main thing.
Okay.
That, I mean, in any situation, I blame myself.
Okay. So one of the things I'll give you then, I need to think about the kind of questions it's cool because when we do in the Wonderings, in my class, I used to be like, yeah, this is what we do. But you have to ask questions so it can't have my influence or advice in the question at all.
Oh, that's a struggle.
Yeah, so like asking you a question that genuinely wonders something to make you have a better understanding of yourself, but not put my opinion in it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try and do that, but that's hard with what you just said, especially because I like live with you and I see you.
Yeah, and there are thousands of types of bias.
Yes.
Yes. So I took a statistics class in high school, so.
Oh well, then you are just brilliant.
I wouldn't say that.
All right, so to close out, I want you to tell everybody how you're excited about like growing. So you told us about what you're scared about, the parts of adulthood you're like, oh, that makes me nervous. What excites you?
I'm excited to do what I want to do with my life.
Okay.
I'm excited to go be a teacher, to help influence students, and really influence the future.
I think that's perfect.
I'm excited to meet all of the people that are going to be in my life for a long time. And I'm sure I've met a lot of them already. But I know that there's going to be a lot of people that I haven't met yet, and that are going to be, I guess the good quote would be forever friends.
I think that's a perfect way to end it. That's like what we all want. So, well, thanks everybody for listening. Everybody thank Ryan because he was super brave to do this with me without much prep because he's awesome. And I will talk to you on the next episode, which I believe is going to be about me. So that could get interesting. Take care and have a good day.